Zimbabwe is in the middle of a currency crisis that has resulted in the rapid depreciation of its currency. In May, to get $1, you would have to spend 366 Zimbabwean dollars. By June, the currency's value had fallen by nearly 45% and was trading at around 750 Zimbabwean dollars to the American dollar. Inflation jumped from 132% in May to 191.6% in June. And to stem the tide, the country rolled out a series of schemes, and now a new policy to boost foreign currency reserves has been introduced. According to Zimbabwe's central bank, it has approved a regulation that will allow the country's power utility, that is the Zimbabwe Power Company, to charge exporters of goods and services in dollars, euros, and other foreign currencies. Now, exporters and partial exporters will now have to pay their electricity bills in international currencies. And so joining us on the conversation from Harare, Zimbabwe is Prosper Chitambara, a development economist and policy advisor. It's great to have you, Prosper. Join us on Business Edge.
Thank you so much for having me once again.
All right. Now, this new policy is just one of many that Zimbabwe is trying out. And have others, like the increased taxes on forex bank transfers and the suspension of banks from lending to government and the private sector, helped at all in any way in stemming the current situation of the Zimbabwean currency?
Well, they've only had, I think, a marginal impact because what's happening is inflation continues to increase. Obviously, that puts a lot of pressure on the Zim dollar, because it means the demand for the US dollar also increases. And of course, as the demand increases, the supply has not actually been matching the demand. So there's a huge mismatch. And it's actually that mismatch that then drives the further depreciation of the local currency. So I think obviously what we need to do is to be bold and comprehensive enough in terms of addressing the key drivers of the chronic high inflation as a way of stabilizing things. Because without addressing the chronic high inflationary trend and developments, then it means we'll continue to see further depreciation of the exchange rate, which will further stoke up macroeconomic instability within the country.
So now that the Zimbabwe Power Company has been empowered to charge exporters in dollars in order to raise the value of the foreign currency, tell us, how effective do you think that would be in the long and short run?
Well, I think first and foremost, this is just, I think, for 6 months. It will be reviewed in 6 months. But I think we also must look at it within the broader context of the country being in a multi-currency regime. So obviously, it would make sense for those businesses that are exporting their products to pay a greater proportion of their electricity bills in US dollars. Why it's important is because this every month they are having to import electricity valued at about 17 million US dollars to augment the limited local production of electricity. So they have obligations that must be met in foreign currency, their imports. And if businesses are allowed to pay for electricity, at least in foreign currency, that also helps ZESA to be able to import and to cover their foreign currency obligations.
All right, so we understand that the order issued by Zimbabwe's central bank is set to last for about 6 months. So tell us, why 6 months? Why not more than that? Do you think they will be able to achieve the aim within that span?
Well, I think obviously they would need more than 6 months. I would think for the subsistence of the multi-currency regime, I think institutions like ZESA that have to import some of their requirements must be allowed to charge, or at least to bill businesses that are exporting in foreign currency. But I would suppose maybe the 6 months is there for the authorities to maybe see whether the policy is having the desired effect in terms of ameliorating some of the wars or some of the foreign currency requirements by ZESA. So the expectation is that in 6 months at least, the policymakers should actually be able to see whether maybe the policy needs to be adjusted, or it needs to be removed, or it needs to be extended. So I think it's in order, but obviously, as long as we continue in this multiple currency regime, then at least those businesses that are getting foreign currency or that are exporting must meet part of their greater part of their obligations, especially for electricity in foreign currency.
All right, so finally, Prosper, this policy involving the power utility is just one in what the country is trying to bring up in terms of measures. And the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe said to have raised interest rates to about 200%. So looking at this particular initiative and others, how effective do you think it will be on the economy?
Well, I think it will have probably a marginal effect. Of course, electricity is a key enabler and a key driver within the economy. So once ZESA is actually able to import enough electricity to meet the requirements of the economy, obviously it's good for business. It enhances the productivity and capacity utilization in industry. But of course, far and above this, I think there are other critical issues that must be addressed with respect, for example, to even the general doing business environment. I would say it still remains quite challenging for a lot of businesses getting a business license. When you look at the number of days, even getting electricity connection again, there are a lot of regulations that are involved, and it takes a bit of time. So we need to further improve the doing business environment as a way of enhancing broader competitiveness within the economy. And of course, there are other institutional reforms around parastatals. Even ZESA itself is a parastatal. And we also need to reform it to ensure that at least the way it's managed, because when you read the Auditor General's reports, a lot of these parastatals have actually been implicated in terms of gross financial mismanagement. So obviously we need to reform these institutions, because they are then critical also in terms of driving sustainable development within the economy. But a lot still needs to be done to further enhance confidence in terms of the doing business environment, the investment environment, and the whole economy in general.
Well, a lot needs to be done, and of course, it's a process that they are working on. But then we get to see what happens even as they begin to roll out these measures. We must say thank you so much, Prosper, for dropping by to lend your voice on the discourse.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so the Southern African country reintroduced its local currency, that is the Zimbabwean dollar, in 2019 after abandoning it in 2009 when it was hit by hyperinflation. Now, the currency yet again is on another downward spiral. However, President Emmerson Mnangagwa is hoping that the new measures put in place will be able to further prevent currency depreciation and, of course, stabilize its country's economy. So we can only wish them well even as they continue with that. Let's quickly go on a break, and when we return, it will be time to dive into the world of technology and startups. Do stay with us.